What? Is this thing on? Oh my god. MLB is back. What is up? Shout out to the live chat. Who, if you're watching this on demand, as the cool kids say, I really have the schedule start time. I told you guys I would have something up today, but I was just like, you know what? We're winging it. We got NBA lock to deal with. I'll go live when we can. Pop-up stream. It's 11 p.m. Eastern, and there's 20 plus psychos ready for some MLB baseball. Completely, unadvertised. So, shout out to Phil. Shout out to MacMan, Jeff, Josh Plays DFS, Gilbert, KJ, AOD, Dominator, Daniel Berry, Dr. DFS, Kate, man, you guys are nuts. Be real. It's crazy. Shout out to you guys, man. I'm glad we got Papa energy drink. Got a little bit of research done. Actually, this one is hard to pop. What the flip? It's a bad omen. How is this one? How you guys doing, man? What you guys been up to? Some of you guys that don't play NBA, welcome back. Some of you guys that do play NBA and you're looking to, expand into the MLB season. Welcome aboard. I know it can be confusing. Feel free to ask as many questions as you want. I don't care how intermediate or elementary they may feel to you. I just want people to enjoy baseball and enjoy baseball DFS. So when I first started playing DFS, and when I went pro because of, I went full-time DFS playing off of NBA. And then, like maybe some of you guys, after NBA, I was like, well, I don't want to go back to work, so I gotta figure out baseball. My first season of baseball was not great. I thought it was the most high variance, hardest, unpredictable sport possible. But then I started digging in, started making spreadsheets, started making models, understanding the nuances, fully accepting the variance that baseball will bring. And I started falling deeper in love with the sport that I already loved the most as a casual fan, and learning, about advanced metrics, about spin rates, about pitch types, the art of every pitch, and it became my favorite DFS sport. So kind of turned the tables, and now, like, this past week NBA, I'm just like looking up every night. We gotta play Keon Johnson and nonsense, and it's like, oh, I love baseball because it gives you so much time to research a slate, have your stuff ready, and even though there's a lot of variance, you can embrace the variance, and you can still what's the word? You can still bank with like zeros in your lineup. There's just multiple ways to skin a cat. So while every DFS sport is beautiful, my baby is baseball, and I'm happy it's back, and I hope that you guys will build a bridge if you're not into baseball DFS, and try to pick up on some things, and I will do my best to make it an easier process. Giannis starting the night off. Yeah, Giannis and Drew Holiday, just nuts. What up, Obi-Wan? Yeah, we got that Twins lineup. What are your thoughts on those cheap Twins bats against Greinke? Yeah, Greinke has, in the last couple of years, been a guy that pitches more to contact than anything. So, yeah, those dogs will hunt. So what we're going to do here, a little bit of research sesh. So I've been knee-deep in like World Baseball Classic and enjoying that while still grinding basketball. Luckily, baseball is a 1v1 sport. So I've got all the data I need. But what we're going to focus on for most of the streams is pitchers, the pitcher talent, and how to attack those pitchers and try to identify what stacks we want. And then also, this early in the season, especially to you newcomers, you got to understand that baseball is generally not going to be as high scoring as it will eventually get in the dog days of summers. There's many reasons many factors that are to blame for that. But just generally speaking, we're talking day one healthy baseball team. So you're getting the best pitchers from each team. You're getting the rested bullpen. You're getting cooler temperatures. And some rusty bats. So not expecting a bunch of explosions, but with baseball being as random, the bigger the slate, the more likely it is for those 10-spot teams to emerge. So we're gonna see if we can't find a couple of those opportunities to wedge in, and then we're also gonna focus on finding out pitch counts, because as the baseball season starts, if you guys maybe are casual fans, pitcher throws 100 pitches. Well, to start a season, that's not always the case. Sometimes guys are only stretched out to 65, 75, 85. So we're going to look at each guy's, hopefully find each guy's last appearance and what kind of how many pitches they got up to and stuff like that. So the general hope right now is to target guys and day one aces that can get us to the 6 innings, get us to the quality starts, and hopefully scoop up some wins. But that's kind of be the focus here. If you guys have already done a little bit of research, so you have some nuggets, throw them at me. I know one of the storylines going into this season so far has been Alek Manoah's dip in velocity, 2-3 miles on his fastball. That's concerning, especially those type of power pitchers. if they don't have their velo as a starter quite yet, I definitely want to keep an eye on them. But it isn't uncommon to see pitchers struggle to find velocity early in spring as they rubber their arm out and the temps heat up a little bit. If you guys follow the Yankees, the last couple spring trainings, we're seeing like Chapman in the 90s, and then as the temps got up and he got stretched out a little bit more, he would find that 100. But while they struggle early on, you either want to find reasons to avoid, find some wedges, find some angles to play bits and pieces like that. So we'll see. What's up, Jack? Jeff, do you play MME or single entry or 3 max? So if you were brand new to baseball, I would recommend trying to learn how to manage 20 lineups because admittedly there's a ton of variance in baseball, but there's enough to blanket an attack and cover some bases in 20 lineups. So one of the easiest processes that I put out there, or I guess formulas to generate 20 lineups, pick 4 or 5 teams and pick 3 to 5 pitchers and just kind of spin the wheel, make a deal on those. Honor the stacks. If you guys are new to baseball, stacking is king. Stacking is the way to capitalize on the highest amount of correlation possible, as you get points for runs scored, runs batted in, stuff like that. So if a guy's on second base, he already scored some points because he got to second base, he's going to score a run, and the guy that drives him in is also going to correlate with that guy scoring a run, and so on and so forth. That one's pretty rudimentary. You guys get that much. So I would say if you're starting out, getting those $1, just like basketball, the $1.20 max is probably the best thing you can play on DraftKings, and you could probably manage something like that in the 20-25 max on Fanduel as well. So that's what I would start with there. Wind's gonna blow out in KC. That's good. Bigger bases, pitchers on a timer. I'm looking lots of stolen. Yeah, stolen bases projected to go up quite a bit. What up, Donnie? Manoa, every game last year, his velo went up as the game went on. Yeah, and you see that with power pitchers. So, but it is something to keep an eye on early on, because like a guy like Nate Eovaldi, another guy that he's a power pitcher, you're gonna want him to get to the hundreds because that's where he shines the most. That's where his strength comes from. So it's a little easier to catch up to those 97s and outlier 95s and whatnot. So something to keep an eye on. What up, Big Russ? Now, you didn't miss much. Just getting all the cordialness out of the way. If you are new to the channel, just because you're researching MLB DFS, I'm Gundacker. You may have seen me around. You should probably still see me pop in on some stochastic streams as well this season. If you guys are new to MLB DFS, I built out a spreadsheet that is pretty, popular amongst my group. It's one of my greatest creations. It's the index. It's just a MLB VIP spreadsheet, but this is what we're going to be using for for all the streams that we do. And anytime you see me somewhere on another show, talking, spitting stats, I'm really just looking at this. So what this spreadsheet will do is it'll give me hitter splits against a certain pitcher's pitcher's handedness. So for this example, Max Fried versus Patrick Corbin. So battle of two southpaws. So we're going to look at the Brave splits over the last 2 years against lefties and vice versa. Now, baseball is a game of nuances, and people that I love and respect don't care about splits. People that I love and respect don't believe in 2-year rolling sample sizes, 1 year, 5 years. So understand that everyone has their own preferences with stuff like that. I use the 2-year rolling sample, or a 2-year sample, and when the All-Star break hits, then I'll cut it from the beginning of last year and keep it going from there. It's just you got to have a baseline to start somewhere. So that's what I do. Also on this index portal is pitcher splits the last 3 years, lefties versus righties, and then road and home splits. So you'll see some pitchers have better xFIPs, better strikeout percentages to one side of the plate to the other. You also see ground ball rates, stuff like that. And then, of course, the Sierra's, expected ERAs, whip, stuff like that. So I definitely focus way more on the predictive analytics, the advanced analytics. Don't really care about ERA. ERA is listed here, though, just for a point of reference when projecting progression or regression in a pitcher. And that's something that we can wedge in because there are still people out there that exist that refer to ERA and game logs for pitcher performances, and that's not something that we get down with. So we'll be doing that. This sheet also features the bomb detector. Tomorrow's pretty quiet, but we'll go back and forth on that. This is a formula, an algorithm that I've created that has also gained a little bit of notoriety that predicts guys that have the best home run matchups. And what it does is it considers the hitter and pitcher's fly ball rates, hard contact rates, pull rates, stuff like that, all of the special ingredients that go into creating a home run. This is not something that considers park factors or anything like that. It's just straight up batted ball data between the hitter and the pitcher. We also have the pitch report that we'll be referencing, which features the pitcher's pitch mix from last season right now, the percentage of times they went to that pitch, the average velocity, the weighted runs created, which is like the grade on that pitch. So for instance, Patrick Corbin had a minus 1.2 grade on that pitch, which means it was a below average fastball. Think of 0 as like the league average, the median. Anything above 0 is a positive result, and below 0 and the negatives is a negative result, and so on and so forth. So put a better pitcher in the mix. A guy like Corbin Burns, his slider 1.63 grade on that pitch, and probably I guess we could find Shane McClanahan curveball over 2. So stuff that's over 2 is like really elite. So those are the 3 that we're going to be referencing here the most for this stream and forward. This is something that you guys can have access to every day. It is behind the paywall at rundfs.com. So if you want to add that to your repertoire, you can. We have launched the new prices for the MLB season. $300 gets you till October 1st. Comes with a $100 credit towards Fantasy Cruncher, and then the year pass has been dropped $100 to $400 to adjust for the Aprilness. So all the plugs out of the way. Let's talk some baseball. The dreaded BVP. Now I do have the BVP tab in here, but understand that's not my thing. It's not my thing, but people do like to look at it. And I like to look at it, but I never lean on it to create lineups. But it is fun to see history. Like I when I put it in there yesterday, I noticed Brandon Lau had 3 homers off of Eduardo Rodriguez, and I was like, wow, that's crazy. Due to the law average, Corbin has to be much improved this year. Well, let's find out. So we're going to focus on the main slate here. Locks at 1:05 p.m. Eastern. Nationals hosting the Braves. Max Fried taking on Patrick Corbin. The Braves are likely going to be one of the most sought-after offenses on the entire slate. And I believe they have the highest run total at first glance on the entire slate. And remember, we're dealing with that early season opening day starter run total stuff where you're not going to see much over 5. And this is the only team that I can tell that is at 5. It looks like it's Braves at 5. The Red Sox are at 4.8. The Twins, I think, are at 4.7. So teams like that, and the high, usually ownership is relative to run total with a couple of nuances. So expect the Braves to be pretty popular against Patrick Corbin, who has certainly been a guy that rewards power righties and rewards them quite well over the course of the last 3 seasons, 2020, 2021, 2022. If you look at average allowed to righties, allowing over a 300 average with I guess an average 1.8 home run per 9. Last season 1.8 against righties. The season before 2.4, and the batted ball data still is bad. 41% hard contact rate to righties. What is going a little bit better for him is that the fly ball rate is low, but he does allow a lot of line drives, almost a 24% line drive rate to righties. So you're going to get a lot of sharp homers, and he doesn't throw a ton of balls here. So this is definitely spot where Patrick Corbin could collapse against a really talented Braves team that thrived against left-handed pitching last year. Ronald Acuna looking to bounce back. Matt Olson has sustained a 260 plus ISO against lefties the last 2 years. Austin Riley, one of the guys that is highest on the bomb detector with sample size. I believe he's third, behind Byron Buxton. Ezekiel Tovar is up there, but there's no sample size behind that. So Riley's going to be one of the guys that I want to attack. He has a 151 WRC plus against lefties last year. Really, really good numbers. Ozzie Albies, another guy I'm excited to see healthy this season. And even a guy like Ozuna, you might be able to tap in. So we'll see. A lot of these lineups still projected. There's still some volatility and some variance in what we might actually see out here, but the Braves look like a fun team to stack up, and Fanduel versus DraftKings price points leave us a little bit more leeway and a little bit more flexibility to get to these Braves, especially a guy like Austin Riley, who's $1,000 cheaper than his DraftKings counterpoint. So I got very little pushback against Patrick Corbin here. And then Max Fried against the Nats. The Nats last year were one of those pesky teams where they didn't profile well offensively, and this projected lineup has only one hitter over a 200 ISO against lefties, and that's Joey Meneses. Everybody else, all dead red here in terms of ISO against lefties. But the problem with them is they were a little bit scrappier when it came to strikeouts or getting strikeouts. But I'm still okay with attacking the 20 to 21% guys with a guy like Max Fried. So what we want to do with Fried here is see what kind of see what kind of pitch counts we worked up to. So I had the page open because it took me a while to figure out. Here we go. Max Fried. Sean Murphy going deep. Yeah, I like that. Max Fried. All right, so can we reset filters to show all? So it is a little bit more challenging to find preseason data from or to get preseason data conveniently, I'll say. So that's what I've been dealing with, but I find that this might be the best way. Wait, let me open up let's open up DraftKings 1 second. Was Fried in the WBC, or does MLB.com have a minimum pitch count? Or is this just a certain league? Let's see if the blurb helps us out here. We're going to run into this problem a little bit for the first rotation of pitchers. So, South Park Fried has been excellent in spring toss, 11.1 scoreless innings, 1 option, 14 strikeout. So just 11.1 innings in spring. Has anyone seen a pitch count for Fried? I guess at 8,100, I'll just take the gamble on DraftKings. The Fanduel price point, the one that's got me a little more spooked. I am the key. Thank you for the sub. What up, Brian? Was wondering what happened to me. So in the last, I moved, and I had this thought at the beginning of March. I was like, man, it's on my heart to move. I didn't like where I was. I was continuously experiencing problems with Spectrum, and I was like, dude, if I move, I gotta do it before baseball. So we made it happen. The ball got to rolling, and you see a little different. I still got to set up the green screens, whatever, and that cost me a week of the NBA grind. And then when I got back, I tried to get right back into NBA grind for content. But I just still had a lot of stuff to take care of for the move. So now things are kind of settled down in baseball, and right now NBA grind is like, gosh dang, bro. Isaiah Jackson, O'Shea Brissett, Keon Johnson, Shaden Sharp, we're in that section of the season. So we might not do any more NBA live streams for the regular season, but that's okay. That lets us dive headfirst into baseball. What strategy to use on prize picks for MLB? What categories or string of picks do you like the best? So that's a great question. One thing that we were doing a lot last year, and shout out to my boy Eric Lindquist for putting me on this, is on prize picks they usually offer what we call the home run triangle, and I'm not seeing it, but I would assume that it's going to be added. Have you guys so we'll see if they add it tomorrow. I think it's not up because we don't have a lot of confirmed lineups yet, but what they usually do is they'll put like 3, sometimes 4 hitters in a group with a 0.5 home run prop, and you can take the over. So let's say today we like Austin Riley, the homer, right? Well, if he was in a home run triangle with like Acuna or Murphy, other guys that could profile just as well, we would take the over on that, and then you could still actually parlay that or correlate that with taking Riley's over fantasy points as well. So you can kind of take the same prop on the same hitter. So that's one strat that I do like. Obviously, you can still take pitcher strikeouts. Pitcher strikeouts will be something that you can shop in terms of positive expected value versus odds value that you can see in sports books. A lot of this stuff you can't get in sports book, but those are the 2 that I would attack the most. And then of course fantasy points is something I like quite a bit as well, and I like that for all sports. So hopefully they'll post home run triangles tomorrow, unless anybody has seen something that's something they no longer plan to offer. I don't love total bases, but I'll take it if I need something to pair with the home run triangle and it's not offered in like fantasy. And then like you mentioned, somebody mentioned in chat earlier about the projected increase in stolen bases this season. So one thing I want to watch on that is, our fantasy score is going to adjust accordingly, and right now it looks like no. 7.5 and 6.5 all the way down to 5 were kind of what we saw as the 3 ranges of outcomes, the 3 lines that were set last year. So we can start tapping into some of these speedy guys that are maybe under projected in terms of stolen bases early on in the season, like Trey Turner's at 5.5, right? Obviously that's a rough example because of who he's up against, but if some of these numbers are going to be stationed at 4.5 to 7.5 going forward, stolen bases are worth quite a bit for fantasy. So that's also something to keep an eye on. But I really want to see the home run triangles come back. The grinder, which I appreciate that, Brian. Menage a Dong. Yeah, they need. Hopefully they'll post them back soon. What about strikeout props? We got those up. Yeah, we do. So 5 strikeouts for Max Fried, 4, and this is also maybe something that can steer us as to what odds makers and line setters are thinking on pitch counts as well. So 5 strikeouts for Max Fried. I feel like it's a pretty efficient line. If we hope that he gets through this lineup 5 times, with this projected lineup only giving us Kaibu Ruiz that strikes out less than 1 in 5 times against lefties, sure, that's something that I can get behind. Patrick Corbin is the wild card here. I don't. If you're planning on stacking the Braves, you think Patrick Corbin gets shelled. His strikeout stuff last year was just pretty much non-existent. Allowed 11% barrel rate on a sub 10% swing and strike rate. And I'm pretty sure that 9.2% swing and strike rate was the lowest of his career. So if he continues where he left off against a really talented Braves team, 4 strikeouts might be a little steep. But let's see. Let's open up. Maybe we can pull up an odd shopper and get actual line value for baseball here. I haven't had them up for baseball yet. Yeah, so like I said, MLB is very tough for prop betting. I like it for DFS, but prop betting baseball is going to be quite the experience. So don't get discouraged or encouraged after 1 day sample size. But I tend to stick with fantasy points and pitching strikeouts, stuff like that. Odds, shop bets, baseball. So Did they move all that behind the paywall? Or am I just missing? Or maybe they just don't have a ton. So it is showing that Olsen was at, or Max Fried 5.5 strikeouts. The juice was on the under at minus 127. So for that line to be 5, that's fair. I don't think that's what I'm looking for though. Anyway, let's get back to making a DFS pool here. So I'm gonna pull up the player pool. I'm going to allow Max Fried. I'm gonna start him off as a tier 3, and then for stacks, obviously I'm gonna be all about some Atlanta Braves here. What I would say to be cautious with the Braves is they seem like the most obvious stack on the slate. So we probably are going to deal with elevated ownerships. And this is the sport where ownership is actually bad just because of the variance of baseball. LeBron James is less likely to bust. Giannis is less likely to bust at elevated ownership than, an Austin Riley with 4 at-bats, if that makes sense. So in MLB, you'll see the sharpest players tend to steer clear of the hitter chalk. I personally don't necessarily care about pitcher chalk too much because a lot of times the pitcher chalk is good. Sometimes it's not. But I'll play the best pitcher since that's the highest predictive value. But the Braves are more than likely going to be your highest stacked ownership tomorrow. So do that with as you may. They make the most sense, but we're gonna have them in our stack list here. And then just from a offense standpoint, Bomb Detector has a 4+ rating for Ronald Acuna, Austin Riley right there, Sean Murphy, Ozzie Albies, Travis Tarno. Basically all the righties profile extremely low against Patrick Corbin. And then on the Nat side against Max Fried, even if Max Fried's not getting strikeouts, he is somebody that I wouldn't want to pick on no matter what, especially with a team that has absolutely no power. He has one of the league's best ground ball rates, I think overall, 58% to lefties and just about 50% to righties, a 12% swing and strike rate, a 2.85 expected ERA, 3.31 Sierra, and that all played with his ERA. So if anything, we might explore some Max Fried unders, and with pitch counts being so mysterious, if you will, early on, there is a tab on PrizePicks called MLB Live, and you can get some of these pitchers first 3 innings, first 2 innings for strikeouts. Sometimes we could also attack first inning runs allowed for both teams. So I think what we might see here, man, I wish we could get behind pitcher runs allowed, but I guess that's just not gonna be. Wait, what is this? Garrett Cole plus Patrick Corbin? Dude, did they mix pitchers on purpose? So usually no run first innings are just that the game looks like Garrett Cole plus Patrick Corbin half run first inning. It looks like they've done that with Logan Webb as well. Is that on purpose? It doesn't look like it's being done with any other pitcher or any other games. Wait, Chicago, Baltimore? Baltimore is in Fenway, right? Or am I tripping? They are. Is this on purpose? It has to be on purpose, right? So you can get no, what? Stroman and Gibson, which is, I'm sorry, chat. I'm perplexed right now. Hunter Green and Zach Greinke. They're just combining random pitchers and whether or not they'll give up a run in the first inning. That's interesting. It's interesting. Something new, I guess. Huh. Take the over on Cole plus Corbin. I mean, Corbin with anybody is interesting, right? But it's one of those, like, obviously I'm not banking on Garrett Cole to give up a homer or give up a run. But, huh. I wonder if you could. I guess you can't put 2 Corbins together. I don't know. I have to do some. I don't want to stall on stream, but that's completely unexpected, and I guess is intentional. Earned runs allowed. Do we get Max Fried 1.5 earnings against that lineup? That's intriguing, but that's a really low line. So, what about pitcher? We're still missing tabs here, so I guess I can't really do a whole lot of price pick because we don't have pitcher fantasy score listed either, and we don't have the home run triangles. And I'm hoping those actually do come, but that's something to keep an eye on. Is that Nerfies look really weird. Deposit price picks 20 in 1. I've been seeing that TikTok floating around. It's the end of the world. Yeah, he can, but the first, I mean, he can. I'm not gonna push back on that. Anyway, so I don't have any interest in stacking Nationals here. Even when Max Fried isn't getting strikeouts, it's soft contact ground balls, and this is not a powerful team. So, not gonna stack Nats. If I had to get to a Nationals player, Joey Meneses profile is the best, the strongest guy, 310 ISO against lefties, and then of course just generally one of the powerful guys, 200 plus WRC plus against lefties as well. So he might make like just a player pool, maybe Lane Thomas, but most of this lineup I have very little to no interest in. What up? Could be Travis. Am I catching a live gun night show? Yeah. Opening day. I could not do an opening day stream, but I also didn't want to get up at like 6 a.m. to do it, or 8 a.m. whatever. All right, let's move on to Yankee Stadium. Yankees hosting the Giants. Logan Webb on the bump for the Giants. Garrett Cole on the bump for the Yankees. So Cole is definitely somebody that we saw a decent chunk of. As a matter of fact, I want to say he got up to 100 in spring training. We pull him up, and then do we have any Logan Webb? We do. All right. So Cole might be one of the most stressed out pitchers in this first rotation for the league. And with the Yankees dealing with injuries, they might try and get the most out of him. More so than usual on opening day, just to kind of pad the day 3, day 4 situation. Let's go to game log. Spring training. So on the 24th, no, he didn't get up to. I think it was Max Scherzer that got up to 100. 84 pitches in that last outing against Minnesota, 55 strikes. So 84 pitches. Usually we go plus 10, plus 15 as something that you can stretch out to. So I probably expect 90 pitches to be the expectation here. And 90 pitches for a guy like Garrett Cole still has as much upside as just about any other pitcher. So I like that. And then with Logan Webb, pull him up. We'll go game log. Spring training 2023. His last outing, he got up to 46, but the outing before 82. So I guess he went through 5 innings on those 46 pitches. He probably went to the bullpen and finished firing. So he looks like he stretched out to 85, 90. So we'll work with that. Logan Webb last year against righties, 0.45 home run per 9 to righties, a 53% ground ball rate to righties, heavy ground ball rate to both sides of the plate, 1.16 whip, 3.59 expected ERA. All those are really decent numbers. So not something that inherently I would go attack on purpose. But a team like the Yankees, if they are going to be one of the teams that end up in the shadows of a team like the Braves, and maybe we get them at a soft enough ownership against, maybe they work Logan Webb long enough to get into a bullpen. Yankees, of course, will always make the stack list, but here is one of those situations where I'm only stacking them because they're the Yankees, not because I think they're in a good spot against Logan Webb. And then Logan Webb at 7.6K on DraftKings, especially with perhaps some strikeout potential coming back. We saw his 12.4% swing and strike rate drop to 10.6. Over 10%, that dog is still going to hunt decently well against a lineup that can give you strikeouts. Judgy, Stanton, Donaldson, Oswaldo Cabrera, all guys that struck out on average 1 and 4 times. So can maybe steal some strikeouts on top of just being able to pitch efficiently. In spring training, we saw him rack up looks like 16 strikeouts in 16 innings. So a strikeout per inning, that's about what you expect out of a guy like Logan Webb. So I would be okay if you wanted to take some shots on Logan Webb at 7.6K. Would be okay if you want to stack the Yankees offense in Yankee Stadium and hope that, Webb has some bad luck with ground balls getting through and perhaps handing the ball over to the bullpen quicker. And then Garrett Cole, probably going to be one of the chalkier pitchers on the slate. His matchup is lukewarm, and his upside is tops here, right? 30%, 32.4% K rate last year, 2.7 Sierra, 3.31 expected ERA. The barrel rate, 9.5%. Admittedly, showed some power issues, especially to lefties. A 1.7 essentially homer per nine to lefties last year, a 50% fly ball rate. That type of stuff does create some homers in over the short porch. Who on the Giants would you look at to take advantage of that? I guess Jock Peterson, Lamont Wade, guys with 220, 230 plus ISO against righties the last couple years. Mike Yastrzemski. So if you wanted to, get into a lower owned team like the Giants, who generally carry a weaker perception because they are, a team that plays in one of the more pitcher friendly parks, catch them now in a hitter friendly park. It makes a lot of sense to want to be there. But certainly just that you're trying to get contrarian, you're probably trying to get a single digit owned stack. But I wouldn't fault you for that. Just for a front end 20 lineup player pool though, we're putting Garrett Cole in the mix. I'm probably going to start him off as tier 2, leaving the door wide open for him to be tier 1. Probably somebody I would expect to be 30, 40, maybe even 50% on today's slate, considering the options. Maybe 30% is a little bit more of a reasonable projection. That 9K price point on DraftKings, I like that. And then on Fanduel, if you guys are trying to toggle both sites and you're new to MLB, remember that Fanduel scores the quality start, which is the ability to go 6 innings with giving up 3 or less earned runs. Those are points that DraftKings really doesn't care about. You also get points for the win there. So you do want to weigh guys that can get you through 6 innings a little bit more than on DraftKings, where it's more of an efficiency site. Just go out there and get strikeouts. No matter what, Garrett Cole looks like a fine play on both sides, but just something that you should keep in mind if you are working your way into the FanDuel streets for baseball. Teams that are playing tomorrow, not Friday, might be more tempted to use the bullpens earlier. Yeah, that makes perfect sense. But some of these teams like the Yankees, where they got some back end or second, like Carlos Rodon, Severino, they're dealing with injuries as is. So early on, you might expect them to at least try to milk Cole for as much as you can, but you don't want to risk your season in March. So, but that's definitely not a bad point, Steve. Wind out to right, New York tomorrow. Jock Peterson, the sneaky giant. Yeah, he fits the bill of which random power lefty is Garrett Cole going to give up a homer to, right? And he also has found a way to bring his strikeouts down. He used to be a big strikeout guy. 23% still not like elite, but I mean, he was 30+% at one point. So definitely don't mind that. Lamont Wade and Mike Yastrzemski have the highest bomb rating, but Jock Peterson is right behind him at 3.85. So those would be the 3 guys that I would key in on if I'm trying to grab some power. And then is it Brandon Crawford that's Garrett Cole's brother-in-law? That's always a fun narrative if you're into narratives in baseball. But we're better than that. And yeah, that's all I got there. You're what a pinstripe. Middle of my break at the man, you work in the graveyard, bro. All right, so let's go down to the player pool. We put Cole, we put Fried. I'm gonna go ahead and allow Logan Webb to be here. That's just one of those make sense, quasi contrarian. We can put Yankees in a stack. This isn't a ranking by any means. It's just live research. I'm trying to put it on paper and not have as much work to do in the morning. All right, Red Sox hosting the Orioles over in Fenway. Kyle Gibson up against Corey Kluber. So this is one of the more hitter-friendly parks. Again, it's cold everywhere. Northeast expecting cooler temps as well. So not going to pop as much off the page as it would in like August. But when you think about the grand scheme of the slate and day one starters, well, Kyle Gibson comes into this season rocking a 4.46 expected ERA last season, a 1.34 whip, and Corey Kluber, a 4 expected ERA last season, 1.21 whip. So those are generally not day one starting numbers. So parlay that with the fact that they're in Fenway. This is a game I want some access to offensively. I can probably expect to not have interest in either pitcher. Even the Red Sox, even if you didn't think offensively they were going to convert, their strikeout rates aren't that big. Adam Duvall up there with a 31% K rate leads the team, but we get down to 20 into the teens real quick. So a guy that doesn't get strikeouts already against a team that doesn't strike out doesn't really give me much upside for tournament. So don't expect to have interest in Kyle Gibson. And then Corey Kluber, kind of the same thing. Strikeouts just haven't been there for him the last season, and we've seen his swing and strike rate. I guess the swing and strike rate is actually way better than a 20% K rate suggests. So maybe they'll come forward, but until they actually do, I'm just going to lean on the 1.21 whip, the 4 expected ERA, and go from there. And what I want to do is stack up both of these offenses. I think we mentioned the Red Sox have the second or third highest run total. The Orioles are at 4.4, and I'm sure you're going to hear this from a lot of the smartest people in baseball analyzation circles, but the Orioles are good. They're good. And this offense is fun. Cedric Mullins, Ali Rushman, Ryan Mountcastle, Anthony Santander, Gunnar Henderson. One of the names to keep an eye on for American League Rookie of the Year. Kyle Stowers. Like this is a good fun team. Jorge Mateo, we talked about stolen bases. This guy has a real shot at stealing some bases. So this is going to be one of my favorite teams to stack throughout the season. And kudos to DraftKings. They didn't fall asleep at the wheel here. There's a lot of 5K price points off the rip. Fanduel not quite as privy to the upside of the Orioles here, but this is a talented team that I want to get to. So they're going to be in the stack mix here, and kind of the same song and dance for the Red Sox as well, but I don't think they're as talented with as much upside. I think the Orioles are a really fun balanced team that can give you that good mix of hit for average, hit for power, and some stolen bases in the bottom of the lineup. And the Red Sox, if you're going to get a healthy Rafi Devers off the rip against a contact guy like Kyle Gibson, 16.8% K rate to lefties, does keep the ball on, or keep the ball from being hit hard pretty well against lefties, so he's got that going for him. But for the most part, that $1.25 home run per 9 can still play for a guy like Devers out there in Fenway. So yeah, give me this game, give me this stack the ballpark mantra. I'm gonna add Orioles and Red Sox here. Orioles so far I think would be my favorite. Actually, look at ownerships. I don't see the Orioles at the top. I think because of premium pitching, sometimes stacks that have several 5K hitters are going to be just kind of suppressed by default, just because the priority is getting those pitchers. So having on DraftKings Mullins at 5.4, Rushman at 5, Mountcastle essentially at 5. This is a pretty expensive stack for Orioles with a 4.4 run total, so I get it, but I'm there on it. It's going to be very cold in Boston, but a win to right. Nice. Yo, Steve with the fire weather alert. I love it. Here, what up, Skimmer? Appreciate you guys, dude. 50, you guys? Bunch of psychos here. It's about to be midnight on the east side. You guys out here working on baseball. I love it. You guys are the real ones. All right, no pictures for me. By the way, let's go back to PrizePicks for a second and see what kind of craziness they've done with this. So we'll put in Kyle Gibson. 5 hits allowed, 4 pitcher strikeouts. So you can get him with Corey Kluber and you can get him with Corbin Burns in the no-run first inning, and Marcus Stroman. That is so peculiar to me. It's so interesting. So on top of earned runs allowed in an inning, you can also combine them for hits allowed, and that's an interesting one as well. 1.5, I imagine, is the line for universally. And I could certainly see the top of both of these lineups getting on base here. So I might play with that. 3 p.m. in Australia. Shout out to Australia. Australia, when I was growing up, I was thinking about countries I want to visit or move to. Canada and Australia. I never hear anything bad about Australia. It's always just like the nicest, most joyful, manly people. Neighbors are a little crazy, but we all have crazy neighbors. Brewers at the Cubs. We're going to Wrigley. Corbin Burns on the bump against Marcus Stroman. So let's go do some pitch count hunting for Burns. Marcus Stroman, one of my mortal enemies. I don't ever want to play him. Stroman actually has me blocked on Twitter from something like 6-7 years ago. So it's kind of a joke that I call him my mortal enemy. If you guys aren't smartened up. 2 pitchers have blocked me on Twitter. Marcus Stroman and Trevor Bauer. And as soon as Marcus Stroman did it, his career downward spiraled. And then, you know, Trevor Bauer is not even playing in baseball in America anymore. So don't block me on Twitter, bro. Just kidding. That sounds so bad. 41 pitches in his last outing. Corbin Burns. Does anybody have any intel on him working like bullpens up? Because that's scary. 17, 20, 29, 33, 41. That would be pretty scary to not see that number even at 60 plus at this stage. Like, it is possible that after his outings, he would go to the bullpen and fire off. So let's see. Burns has been locked to a heated contract. No excuse doing right-hander for blah, blah, blah. So that's scary. Let's just Google Corbin Burns pitch count opening day. I don't see any articles popping here. All right, so we're gonna have to make a mental note on this, and we're gonna put that in our notes. And I will say, look for Corbin Burns pitch count projections. Because if Burns is going to be like limited to like 50, even 60 is kind of trying to get the most out of the least, you know? Under 9K on DraftKings, I would say on DraftKings, 20 plus out of a pitcher is something that I'll just take almost at any price. And under 9K is whatever. 10 to 11K is usually the premium side of things. 11K on Fanduel. Going back to, I really want to believe that a pitcher can get me a quality start, especially at 11K. That pitch count is going to be something that is alarming to me to trust here. So in the morning, I would be looking vehemently for Corbin Burns pitch count updates. Because I don't know if he's been firing them off in the back and getting stretched out. While he was out there, though, we're looking at 5 innings, gave up 10 hits, yikes, 2 homers, 5 strikeouts. So, I mean, that is a smorgasbord of yikes. 1.0 ground out to arrow ratio, pretty easy, 1.47 whip. He had a 1+ whip in all of his outings except the Texas game. And remember, a lot of these lineups are not your everyday major league lineups. So, something to be concerned about. 1 walk each outing. Yeah, that's scary. And it's one of those spots where the Cubs are not a team that anyone's going to want to get to almost at any stretch of the season here. But they do have a little bit of pop here. Patrick Wisdom, 230 ISO. Ian Happ, a guy that can hit for quasi-average, a little bit of pop. Could they sting a guy like Burns and then, you know, go 3-4 innings and then get into the bullpen? Maybe. Something to think about. So I'm going to refer to Burns a little bit more in the morning to see if there's anything on his pitch count. Do we have projections to go off of? 7 strikeouts is Burns' prop. Very doable. It's a very strikeout heavy lineup. It just comes down to strikeout props, or excuse me, projection, pitch count projection. Only 2 Cubs have a sub 24% K rate against righties in the last 2 years. That's Nico Horner and Eric Hosmer. So plenty of strikeout potential here. Maybe this is a spot where we go after the MLB Live tab and Burns this first 2 innings. 3. Oh, that's 3. Okay, 3 innings, 3.5 strikeouts. 14.5 pitches thrown for the first inning. That's crazy. So the first 3 innings, could we get 4 strikeouts? Well, if Horner leads off, he's a guy I wouldn't bank on one, and Hosmer as well. But there's definitely some strikeouts here, so that's crazy. That's juice pretty high, but it's a pretty bad lineup. So for now, I'm not gonna put the Cubs offense in the mix. What do you think about the Brewers offense? Let's see. First of all, let's go back to run totals here. 4.1 on the Brewers, 3.6 on the Cubs. So not much there for the Cubs. The Brewers here, if we want to pick on Marcus Stroman, we really don't. He's one of those guys that just elite ground ball rates, doesn't give up much power, sub 1 home run per 9 to righties, 1.17 last year to the lefties while having a 2.9 xFIP, or that was in 20, yeah, that was last year. So I got really nobody here that's going to scream at me. So we might get some cherry picks, one-offs. I don't know why I have like half a mind to get a couple of Cubs stacks in the blender, just based on some of that spring. I might do that. If we can get the Cubs at like no ownership, I might throw 2% on the Cubs, just hoping that Burns is really not there yet, stretched out, and go from there, you know. In his last start, the game cast was bugged and said he only threw 1 pitch to each batter. There's no way he went 5 innings to his 41 pitches. Yeah, that doesn't seem right. That has to be wrong. That's a really good catch, Dave. But even then, the game prior, no, that makes sense. Let's see. Let's go. Let's just open up the game, I guess. What's up, Hugo? How are you? I'm honestly blown away that so many people are just hanging out right now. I fully expected like a random 3-viewer stream and just serving up some VOD content. Do we have play-by-play here? Let me see. Let me search Twitter. Something ain't mathin'. Spring training scorekeeping is still something that has an area of opportunity, as the corporate world would say. Corbin Burns. Let me just Twitter search Corbin Burns, huh? And then come back to that. Mainly I'm getting that him and the Brewers hate each other because they try to take him to arbitration or whatever. So you get the Angry Burns narrative, but I don't see anything about, let's see, pitches. You know, it's funny. One of the things that came up was Dean. He said that he basically said the same thing you said. He's like, kind of doubt Corbin Burns gave up 10 hits, walked 1, and pitched 5 innings with just 41 pitches. That makes a lot of sense. That's something I'm not going to be able to fix, so I just got to go with it. What up, Joseph? Hope you're doing all right. So we'll again, we'll go with the asterisk there and see what's going on. Definitely seems like there's an issue, at least if nothing else, with at least that one game. But I would say even if he was stretched out, are we saying that every game was bugged? Or maybe, I don't know. Let me go back. I hate to stall on stuff like this, guys, but this is kind of important. But they don't do play-by-plays, and that's the thing. Some of these spring training games, man, they're just making up stuff. Pin hit seems a little excessive. All right, we'll just leave it at that. If he's on and he's on, he's probably pound for pound the best play. Like if you gave him and Cole the same amount of pitches based on the matchup and batted ball data, Corbin Burnes is in an insane spot against this lineup. This lineup sucks. But the pitch count is the concern here. So we have to leave it at that and move and come back to it. Hopefully there's some clarity in the morning. So yo, Joseph, you got married, right? How's that going, bro? Congratulations again. Hope all is well. Tigers at the Rays. Shane McClanahan from McClanahan's Auto Parts. Hey Tommy, hit him with the haze and the hose. Eduardo Rodriguez on the bump for the Tigers. Looking at run totals for the Tigers. 2.9 is your implied run total for the Detroit Tigers. 4.3 for the Rays. Rays are minus 230 on the money line. So McClanahan, one of those guys that was definitely in the running for the American League Cy Young last year. One of the best pitchers in the American League. And one of the best pitchers on this slate if he's healthy and stretched out. So we'll go back to the list here and see what we can find out for McClanahan, if anything. And I got nothing. I wonder if they're only reporting like Grapefruit League or something. Or maybe it's not Grapefruit. Man, really? Alright, go back to the Twitter mobile. Chat, you got anything on Shane McClanahan pitches? Shane McClanahan. Latest. Yeah, he's really cheap on DraftKings. Like, really cheap. At least at home last season. I love finding betting accounts that's like using ERA and stuff for their picks. All right, so we're gonna add that to the notes. Hopefully, some of the pregame press conferences that these teams do, especially these home teams do, will have a little bit of an insight on pitch. So we're also gonna go look for Shane McClanahan pitch count projections, and then we're gonna absolutely add Shane McClanahan to the pitching tier, as well as Corbin Burnes, with both these guys having the ability to go to tier 2, based on some confirmation on pitch counts. McClanahan is 7.7K. I mean, this is literally one of the best pitchers in the league. He's underpriced if he's not overly restricted, and even if he's somewhat restricted, I'm not at under 8K. I still think he has a shot at 20 plus DraftKings points. In this matchup, there are some strikeouts in it. There are a couple guys that are somewhat menacing against lefties, Javi Baez, Eric Haas, but with those two, they have 1 in 4 or better strikeout rates against lefties. So kind of a high risk, high reward if you want to take shots on those guys offensively. But absolutely like the thought of McClanahan is one of the largest favorites on the board. Hopefully scoop and score our quality start and win if we can get there, but just crazy strikeout stuff. 30% K rate last season, so we're playing him. Erod, I don't think I'm gonna get to Erod with any bit of confidence. He had 91 innings last season, 1.3 whip, 18.4% K rate, 7.5% swing and strike rate. I mean, single digit swing and strike rate, for point of reference, not what you want, especially stuff that's like under 8%. 4.57 Sierra, so that's something I want to pick on. And maybe we get to some Rays bats. Maybe they are sleeping giants because they're in Tropicana. Something that happens early in the season is that these spots that are generally not thought of as hitter friendly in August are way more neutral than because of temperatures around the league. And spots like Tropicana, like Kaufman, stuff like that are just fine in contrast to what else is on the board. So maybe the Rays offense is something that we can get behind. Bomb detector wise, I'm not getting any big ratings, but getting a lot of guys that hit for great average against lefties. And we're looking at Erod. He doesn't miss many bats against righties. Didn't allow a massive average to righties last year, but had a 4.32 xFIP. So definitely some room for some regression there. Also doesn't allow a ton of hard contact, so we're maybe trying to paper cut our way to success, and then maybe some more success off of the bullpen here. But I do kind of like the Rays offense as something to get behind. Rosarena and Brendan Lau again, okay, not a BVP guy, I mentioned it at the top of the show, but just kind of a fun fact, Brendan Lau has 3 homers off of Erod as a lefty-lefty matchup in 16 at bats. So maybe keep that in mind tomorrow when you're trying to decipher what Rays to leave in your player pool here. But I like this. Isak Paredes, 227 ISO against lefties the last 2 years. So I'm in on the Rays. I'm stacking Rays here. We'll put them on the list. And McClanahan's in the pool. Don't have a front end interest in stacking Tigers. But again, against lefties, that historically they have shown some prowess, but man, McClanahan's just like a different level. What's up, Andy? Sorry you can't sleep. 5 months in, Joseph. 5 months in, honeymoon phase is over. You guys farting next to each other yet? Peeing with the door open? Or is that 7 months? I don't know. When does marriage turn from awe to ew? But it's life. Phillies at the Rangers. Aaron Nola taking on Jacob deGrom. I think this is one of the lowest scoring projected games. 3.1 run total for the Phillies, 3.5 for the Rangers. And this is an interesting spot, I guess more so on the Philly side. Now, the Phillies have kind of dealt with some injuries here. They're not going to start the season with Bryce Harper. And then we saw Rhys Hoskins get injured in spring training. So they still have some fun names though. Trey Turner, Kyle Schwarber, JT Realmuto. I guess that's where the fun really is. And I wonder if just for simple fact that they're up against Jacob deGrom kind of stifles their ownership, and maybe they have first dibs at the pen here. But I'm in on both pitchers, especially on the DraftKings price points here. For Nola, 8.1K, Rocky last outing I think in spring, but let's see if we can pull that up here. Dude, I don't understand why some pitchers are listed on MLB and some pitchers are not. You know what I mean? Like, did they split? Or they just spring training stats are just so wishy-washy. And we don't have DeGrom either. I wonder what that's about, man. Like, why? Let's go team. Phillies couldn't hit the ground the same day. Yeah, I mean, it's Jacob deGrom. So Jacob deGrom, make no mistake about it, is probably the best pitcher on the planet when he's healthy. So no team should be able to hit him. It's certainly not something that I'm planning for. But in the game theory of baseball for large field ownership, start trying to find some spots where guys might be low owned, talented guys that might be low owned. So a guy like Trey Turner, Kyle Schwarber, because of the matchup, you're going to go much quicker to a Brave stack or maybe, even an Aaron Judge or something like that. And Trey Turner's a leadoff guy. He could get 5-6 at bats. And he's such a 5-12 player with power, with speed, stuff like that. And if he did get on, we've seen people steal on deGrom before. So it's just thoughts like that. Do we have an opportunity at a premium player at a extremely low ownership, right? And you just think about Trey Turner's ownership for the rest of this year against Jacob deGrom. It's probably gonna be one of the lowest owned spots you can ever get him. So just a thought. And he may just come through on the bullpen here. But both pitchers are in the pool. These are also guys that I need to get more definitive information for pitch counts. Look for Jacob deGrom and Aaron Nola pitch counts. Basically every pitcher tomorrow. I don't really need to dissect the fact that we need pitch counts. Check these blurbs though. Okay, so deGrom will be limited to around 75 to 80 pitches. So that's good information. So we can actually add that to the notes. deGrom limited to 75-80 pitches. And if he pitches efficiently, that might be enough for 5-6 innings. But if he is in trouble early on and they do, work him 20 pitches in the first inning, 20, you know what I mean? You could get into that bullpen a little bit quicker and then get some of those premium guys. And then Aaron Nola, the other one. Let's see. 6 straight seasons he's taking the ball up and down. Won't be his last one. All right. I got nothing on Nola here. I think he got worked in his last spring training start though. So let's go Aaron Nola spring training 2023. Could be 9Ks. Yeah, it could. Maybe that so looking at those price points, remember we talked about waiting the quality start. For deGrom, 10.8K on Fanduel versus 9.6K. I'm in on the 9.6. I think if you get double 20s out of your pitcher spot, it's fine. I don't necessarily overthink it past that. Like, there's not really like a value multiply system that I look for from pitching. I'm just trying to get over 20 fantasy points if I can get it. 30 is great for the aces, but because of how crazy 2K and 3K specials can get, you get one of those. I just want the raw points. Give me the floor, right? Spring training for Nola. If it's listed here, I don't understand life, and it is. Okay, so 37 through 78 pitches the game before, so expect him to be essentially stretched out to 80 plus. He has not looked super sharp, huh? About a strikeout per inning, 2 homers, but both those homers were in the last outing. I guess he just didn't have it. I guess the Yankees, it happens, whatever. 6 hits and 1.2. God dang. All right. Big price discrepancy between Fanduel and DraftKings for Nola. The strikeouts for Nola kind of pick up in the middle, in the heart of this lineup, in the bottom of this lineup. Semien and Corey Seager certainly going to be tougher to get around, but 1 and 4 or better for the rest of this lineup. So definitely some strikeout potential, but I also do like the thought of the Ranger stack, man. A little bit of power here too, 1 through 4. So I might put him in the back pocket. What up, Stanley? The ground won't be that high on because everyone knows about the pitch count. Yeah. I think it's, like I said, I think on FanDuel I don't need him. On DraftKings, though, I still think 80 pitches of Jacob deGrom is well within reason to get 25 fantasy points. And he might even stretch to 5 innings and get a win, you know? Let me try something. I'm just going to type every pitcher. Jacob DeGrom, spring training, 2023. Here, what up, Jay? Still at 60, man. You guys are the best. Anybody? Maddie. Yo, Maddie West, thank you so much for the sub. If you guys are out there lurking or if you're watching on demand, wouldn't mind, hit that sub button, man. We're trying to hit the 9K. We'll be doing pretty regular baseball streams. 34 pitches? Yeah. Dude, man, 80 just might be tops, huh? I mean, 6 strikeouts and 34 pitches. Like, it's not impossible for DeGrom to absolutely shred in 80 pitches. Also, if you guys are vibing out, man, you want to do me a favor, hit that thumbs up, man. Stir the algorithm a little bit. Took 2 weeks off. Sometimes a little inactivity will push us back. But the best way for it to get back is to stir up activity, leave comments, interact, engage with the video, thumbs up, stuff like that. Even thumbs down, but might as well hit the thumbs up. Twins at the Royals. Pablo Lopez up against Zach Greinke. 4.7 run total for the Twins, 4 run total for the Royals. We have a confirmed Twins lineup. I believe it's the only team with a confirmed lineup the night before, so they're just excited as we are. Shout out to them, because there was a couple of different lineups out there. We saw Joey Gallo lead off in spring training. We saw Donovan Solano lead off in spring training. But this one's throwing out Max Kepler, Carlos Correa, Byron Buxton, Trevor Larnach, Jose Miranda, Nick Gordon, Joey Gallo, Christian Vasquez, and Michael A. Taylor. It's a pretty top-heavy lineup with a couple of remember me's in the middle, namely Joey Gallo, up against Zach Greinke. And Greinke's one of the pitchers I've been watching with the pitch clock in spring training. He's a weird guy. But the last couple years, especially against righties, he has really not struck out right-handed hitting at all. A 4.6 average xFIP in the last 3 years against righties, and a higher fly ball rate than you would like, and a very high line drive rate. So if you can get that type of talent or lack thereof against guys like Carlos Correa and Byron Buxton, those are 2 guys we're going to like quite a bit. So one of the home run triangles I'll be looking for tomorrow is if we can get one that involves Correa and Byron Buxton, because both those guys look pretty good. Byron Buxton actually has the highest bomb detector rating with any sample size against Greinke here, 4.34. So it is Kauffman Stadium. Mentioned, some of these usual spots that are a little bit more pitcher friendly. Especially this one has a 79 grade home run versus league average, so it's 21 points below league average in home run. Sometimes they'll play a little bit more neutral because every park has a little bit of pitcher friendliness depending on weather and stuff like that. So I'm fine with getting to some of these Twins bats, especially at the top. And then when we look at guys in the middle of this order, guys like Joey Gallo, guys like Trevor Larnach, we got 30+% K rates that we can neutralize pretty easily against Zach Greinke, who has a 12.5% overall K rate, a 7% swing and strike rate. And focusing on lefties specifically, he struck out lefties almost half the amount that he struck out righties last season. So he's going to dare you to put the ball in play. And a lot of times you'll see these massive strikeout guys that are in the league also have a pretty high barrel rate. And that's the case here. Larnach has a 10.3% barrel rate and Joey Gallo an 18% barrel rate. So if we can extremely cut up and neutralize the strikeout potential here and tap more into the barrel rate, that's a great spot for them as well. So Twins look like a pretty decent stack here against Zach Greinke early on. So we're going to add them to the stack list. And Twins. And keep it moving. On the Royals side here, offensively against Pablo Lopez. So last year, Lopez kind of very splitty, right? A 30% K rate to righties and 18% K rate to lefties. Pretty big split on the xFIP as well. What is the main difference? It looks like he walked lefties a little bit more than you would want, 3 to 4% more. A little bit higher line drive rate, a little bit just a higher average. Okay. Yeah, so when you play Pablo Lopez, you want to see him against more righties than lefties, and it looks like the Royals project to be pretty well diverse in throwing out lefty righty. So MJ Melendez, Vinny Pasquantino, Mike Massey, Kyle Isbell, 4 lefties in the projected lineup. So Lopez is gonna have to get around it, but there is still enough righties to maybe tap into this 30% K rate, and these are the type of numbers that make a perfect tournament play. Enough volatility that scares the everyday guy, but a 7.5 K in a park like this, you could see tapping into the strikeout. So I think I get to a little bit of DraftKings Pablo Lopez. Last year on the road, Lopez was just fine. A lot of people are, it's reasonable to be interested in Lopez's home run splits when you are a home pitcher at one of the more pitcher friendly parks. But on the road, it was just fine. 3.3 xFIP, 25.7% K rate, 1.16 home run per 9, and a 6% walk rate. So I'm in on Pablo Lopez. I also wouldn't be like extremely opposed to a little bit of Royals exposure. So kind of one of those playing both range of outcomes. But I'm going to add Pablo to the player pool. And we already have the Twins here. So boom. What else we got here? We got a couple games left. We've got Mets and the Marlins. Max Scherzer taking on Sandy Alcantara, 2 elite pitchers, and then this is opening day at its best, right? And this is going to make day 4, day 5 is a little bit rougher. As the season progresses, people miss starts, games get postponed. It'll start evening out more to where all the best pitchers aren't on the same day. But for now, all the best pitchers are on the same day, and these are 2 pretty doggone good ones in Scherzer and Alcantara. Alcantara, I believe, is the National League favorite for Cy Young this season, I think. Let's see what we can't dig up for Scherzer and Alcantara. Let's see, Max Scherzer, Spring Training 2023, and then Sandy Alcantara. So what we do know is we're not really going to want to run to stack against them, but like I said, we're focusing on pitch counts. I would imagine both guys are around 80. Just kind of expect everyone to be around 80 unless otherwise noted. And then Max Scherzer, you're going to have fun watching him this season play with the new pitch clock. You've seen him kind of use it to his advantage at times. And I like pitchers that are embracing it, right? A lot of pushback on change, especially the old heads. A guy like Scherzer and Verlander, these 40-year-old guys, they have every right to be like, oh, I hate to change, the game was perfect, blah, blah, blah. These guys are trying to figure out how to use it to their advantage. So that'll be fun to watch as the season progresses. Last outing for Scherzer, he got to 100 pitches. That's crazy. I mean, that's just nuts. So that means, I assume that means he's got to be the most stretched out pitcher on the entire slate. So you put that against the Marlins in a pitcher-friendly park. Lineup, in this projected lineup, at least Jazz Chisholm, Jorge Soler, Garrett Cooper, Avi Garcia. Those are your 1 and 4 K rates. There are some scrappiness around it to kind of get behind. But Scherzer's one of those elite guys that he'll strike out even the scrappy guys as well. And those scrappy guys don't offer a ton of ISO as well. So we gotta throw Scherzer in, and Scherzer's probably gonna be started off as the tier 2. And then Alcantara. This is not the page I was expecting. Is this what we want? I think it is. Where are we at on subs today? Maybe we'll wake up to a surprise 2030, you know? Chad, if I ever streamed MLB The Show on the YouTube channel, would you watch and hang out? I've been streaming it on Twitch a little bit, but there's not a ton of overlap between my Twitch Fortnite followers and my Twitch MLB The Show followers. I feel like there might be enough overlap where you guys would hang out, listen to the Discord chats, and kick it. Might be fun. Maybe something to do. Just not when the Yankee games are on. So we are at 8,543 subscribers. Maybe we can get to 8,550. We can get 7 new subs. That'd be cool. Game logs, spring training. 45, but did throw 70. So yeah, I guess 80, 85 would be the expectation here. Alcantara can get strikeouts, especially against righties. Not necessarily something that he needs to do. He's a guy that even with 80, 90 pitches, he's still a risk for a complete game. Hit you with that Greg Maddux type performance, 8,500 on DraftKings. Yeah, he's in the mix for me. Did not struggle with power to either side of the plate last year. Really no real weaknesses. Maybe an elevated xFIP to lefties, 3.6, but I mean 3.6 is still fine. So it'd be in the mix here, but now we're starting to have to cut out some median outcomes and look for ceiling games here. And with Scherzer having 100 pitches, man, that makes him feel like the top of the player pool for upside. But we'll get to Alcantara. I think 20 plus is reasonable. So let's just start it. Alcantara. Not really front end interest in stacking either offense. Scherzer can give up a errant home run to a lefty here and there, but who would it be? Jazz Chisholm. That's about it. So that's what we got there. Let's keep it moving. Pirates and the Reds. Let's see. I had to refresh chat. Y'all fall asleep on me? I'm putting you to sleep with this baseball analysis. Make sure chat didn't freeze. Pirates and the Reds. Got Mitch Keller taking on Hunter Green. Now this is going to be a tournament range of outcome game from every which way. Mitch Keller, 4.23 expected ERA, 1.4 whip last season, 4.18 Sierra. Hunter Green, a 4 expected ERA last season, a 1.21 whip, a 1.92 home run per 9 to righties. But get this, a 31% K rate. So we talk about 3 true outcome hitters. This one is like a 2 true outcome pitcher, it seems like, right? He's either going to strike you out or you got a good shot at hitting the ball over the wall. And the reason being is because Hunter Green throws a deadly fastball. Let's go down to the pitch report. And he's still kind of, a little bit unbridled. His fastball average was 99, and that got up to 102 plus stuff like that. So, and he backs it up with a slider. So sometimes that slider can hang as well. So when those pitches are on, he's hard to hit. When they're not on, you're basically sitting on 1 of 2 pitches and get ready for it. Pirates, not a team that look very talented. There are some fun names here. O'Neal Cruz, Brian Reynolds, the 2 most intriguing names. And the names that I would probably have the most of pre-flop. And we do have a sneaky amount of guys with over 100 WRC plus, I guess, right? Like O'Neal Cruz, Reynolds, McCutchen, Carlos Santana, Rodolfo Castro. What's that about? And then this being Great American Ballpark, one of the more hitter-friendly and more home run-friendly parks on this slate. I kind of think I can cherry pick some Pirates, maybe even substack some Pirates as well. How'd you move out of Texas? No, man, I'm still in Texas. I'm actually still in the same town. I thought hard about moving out of Texas, but my wrestling career is kind of rejuvenated lately. So I'm just going with the flow, you know what I'm saying? What's up, Craig? Hope you're doing all right. But we did move, and I don't know. I still gotta set up the setup perfectly. I need to order some longer Ethernet cords, and then figure out how we're gonna get the green screen going. But for now, you have to make it look like I'm living in like an Adobe shack in Mexico, and my wrestling championship is how I get by, like Nacho Libre. With that said, Hunter Green, so he's a guy that you can play in tournaments too if his ownership is low enough, because his strikeout potential is high enough, and there are some strikeouts in this Pirates lineup, especially in the bottom half of this projected lineup. G-Man Choi, Brian Hayes, Jack Sawinski, Castro, Austin Hedges. I hate Austin. All these guys really high strikeout rates. So this is the ultimate GPP spot, and there's really only two ways that Hunter Green games tend to go. So I'll have some access to him, and then we'll have hedge stacks there, and I think that's how we play that appropriately. Mitch Keller, I have no interest in pitching Mitch Keller. The strikeout stuff, 20%. That just, yeah, on day one, there's no reason for me to get there on a full slate. You want to pick on Mitch Keller? 0.94 homer per nine to righties last season. A high enough whip in this ballpark with that Pirates bullpen behind him. Yeah, I'm gonna get to some of these Reds bats, but again, you're more so stacking the ballpark than stacking the team. I mean, this is a who's who of who's that. I think I read the other day that Ken Griffey Jr. is like the third highest paid Red this season, and you look at this lineup and you're like, oh yeah, I see why. Jonathan India, I mean, Joey Votto's up there. He's not even in the healthy right now, so it'd be more of a ballpark thing than anything. But again, this is probably two substack opportunities where I don't really want to get behind any of these guys in like a 5-man, at least not too aggressively. Hayes isn't striking out at all. I mean, he has a 25% carry rate, so he can. Let's move on. Blue Jays at the Cardinals. We got Alek Manoah taking on Miles Mikolas. The run total here for the Blue Jays is 3.9. The Cardinals at 3.7. So Manoah's been the subject of some, hey man, what's going on there in spring training? Looks like his fastball velocity is about 2-3 miles an hour behind his average last season. Last season, his average fastball was about 93.6. So a guy that was a 3-pitch pitcher last year, if his fastball is going to be a little bit easier to hit, something that is alarming. We talked about it. Sometimes it takes time for these pitchers to get their velo, get their health back, get their arm back. So I think that's going to be enough against this talented Cardinals team that I probably am not going to be super intrigued with Manoah today. And I think at almost 10K on Fanduel, I'm just going to pivot. You expect a lot of similar scores from pitchers today. If I lose because Manoah absolutely broke the slate against Goldie, Arenado, this is a really talented lineup. I think that's just a risk I'm willing to take. And I'll be on the other side here. And I do think I'll get some Cardinals lineups in. This is one of my favorite teams to stack last season, especially against left-handed pitching. Obviously, Manoah is a righty, but I just wanted to keep that out there because they're such a powerful team. And even though Albert Pujols had a resurging year last year, you replace him with some younger talent. One of the guys that fits that bill here, Jordan Walker. I think he's like 20 years old, making the opening day lineup, or at least opening day roster. And we'll see what we're dealing with Jordan Walker here. And if this isn't, not something that you want to get behind day one, it's still something you should probably keep in mind going forward, because this is a really fun team. Let's see, Jordan Walker. What up, Squeak? So we're going to look at his minor league stuff from last year. If you guys ever want to look at a player's minor league information, the website that you should bookmark is MLB.com. And you can search players and find their splits. Always keep an eye on the sample size and the level, the league level, like AAA, AA, single A, stuff like that. But last year in the minors, he had against lefties a 283 batting average, against righties 313, .518 slugging, 912 OPS against righties. He had 15 homers and 355 at bat. So really good numbers there. And does he steal? No stolen bases here. Yeah, he does have stolen bases. It's just they didn't split it here. Even the minor league stats are not as bad as spring training, but sometimes minor league stats are a little bit more flimsy. 22 stolen bases, so we like to see that. So yeah, and we're gonna get him at a pretty decent price on opening day. Bare bones min price on DraftKings, 2,400 on Fanduel. You know, everyone's gonna be sitting around looking for, you know, his big breakout moment to welcome him to the team. But I like this lineup a lot. The huge ratings when it comes to WRC plus. 1 through 7 in this projected lineup all have above 100 in WRC plus, so it's a good spot for them. And Manoah last year, you know, showed some ability to crack. He is much more dominant, or has been much more dominant against righties. So if it fails, it fails. But mixed with the spring training velo issues, mixed with a good hitting team against him today, I think I'll be on some Cardinals stacks and hope that all hell breaks loose. So let's put Cardinals in the stack list here. Yeah, a lot of Jordan. See, you guys know Jordan Walker, the truth. All right, we got one game left on the main slate. Reminder: if you guys want the spreadsheet as part of your daily research, rundfs.com. Click VIP memberships. The MLB season pass. So this is actually going to cover all things VIP. I just put the MLB name on it to just make it simpler. So the rest of NBA, the beginning of football, I believe football's in September, right? And this goes till October 1. So you're going to get a month of football and $100 credit to Fantasy Cruncher. Boom, the rest of the year pass up there as well. If you guys want that, go to rundfs.com, get behind the paywall, then click VIP portal. On top of the spreadsheet, though, you get access to the rundfs.com premium Discord. Yeah, Discord. So what that'll do is that'll create access to this channel. Usually we'll hang out before main site locks in the voice chat. Because of the overlap between baseball and basketball, sometimes we just got to do it all in one chat, and you might see us in basketball instead. But just nonstop discussion. Been having some issues with some tweet providers. I don't know how to explain it. We automate tweets to populate in the Discord. Some of them are showing up, some of them are not. So, for instance, the baseball, we're getting like Jeff Passan alerts, stuff like that, but I'm not getting like NBA alerts, and I don't quite understand it. But when it's greased up and working at its best capacity, you're gonna get the home run alerts, all that good stuff. So go check all that out. Right, one more sleep, Corey, one more, or just stay up. You know, I've been staying up till like 6-7 a.m. the last 2 days. I'm like, dude, there's no way I can fall asleep. And then I was like, I have melatonin. Am I about to drug myself to be up in time? All right, main event tonight in the main slate. There's other games on the full slate as well. Not gonna cover them here, but just be aware that there are more games. Rockies at the Padres. We got German Marquez taking on Blake Snell. This is gonna close things out. Rockies on the road, and they have a run total of 3.2. Padres 4.5. So we've gone through some really good pitching options. You look at teams and their talent levels, man, it's hard to get behind anyone against this Padres lineup, especially with what else is on the table. German Marquez had a stretch where he was one of the best road pitchers out in baseball when you isolated his core splits versus outside core splits. Last year, he was pretty bad everywhere. 4.4 xFIP on the road, 18.3% K rate, 10.2% walk rate. You know, didn't give up a ton of power and a ton of hard contact, but still nothing elite that we want to go out there and chase. So I'm not going to play him. And this Padres team is so talented. Xander Bogaerts, Juan Soto, Manny Machado. Got the Yankee legend Matt Carpenter in the mix as well. Jay Cronenworth. These are all guys that make a fun stretch for 4-man, 5-man stacks. So I'm going to get to some Padres stacks. Blake Snell, 7,900 is low enough that it does have a range of outcome for like 25-30 fantasy points. against this Rockies team. But I will say this projected Rockies lineup doesn't have a ton of strikeouts in it against lefties. But CJ Cron, yes, but also no, because he's probably the guy I'm most scared of. And then Ryan McMahon and Elias Montero in the lineup. They have 25-28% K rate. So it's a little bit of a pesky lineup. So I'm just kind of hoping Blake Snell doesn't go crazy.
Squeak Diesel super chatted $1.99.
Bing bong. Yo, Squeak, with the $2 dono. Appreciate that, man. That's love. Thank you. So I'm not really that enthralled with Blake Snell, but like I get it on DraftKings. Like if you just thought about his output in a vacuum, 7,900, yeah, there's merit to being there. But if he got chopped off and didn't make the cut, I understand that as well. Do we want to ever get to any of these Rocky stacks? Well, when Blake Snell has his bad game, it usually means that he has lost the strike zone. Last year, a 9.6% walk rate to righties. The 2 seasons prior, double-digit walk rate. So if these low K rates can be parlayed into, more patience at the plate and creating some traffic, yeah, maybe there's a world where Chris Bryant, CJ Cron, those guys kind of come through. So maybe I'll cherry pick some of those guys. So yeah, I'm more interested in the bats here, even though the run totals are pretty modest. But 4.5 for the Padres, not too crazy. Not too crazy low, that is. So we'll throw Padres in the mix. And that is our opening day main slate from the Department of Redundancy Department. Let's refresh PrizePicks one more time and see if they surprise us with some home run triangles. I'm pretty sure they're gonna do those, right? Like, why would they stop? But they're not up yet if they are. But you could bet hitter strikeouts? Guys, they're changing stuff up for me, bro. Okay. We might have to start doing some PrizePicks content. Huh. So this is just will of hitter strikeout period in the game. All right, so just so my mind can wrap my head around this, they've added will a hitter strikeout in a game. They've added, but they also have 2 strikeout props. So I'm assuming this, yeah, guys that are. So I guess I would only ever look at the half a strikeout guys. Stephen Kwan at half, I would probably always take the under. Huh, something to keep an eye on. Unless I want to take the under on 1.5 guys. And then they've added the nerfies, mixing and matching games. Have they done that with hits as well? Nobody. It looks like they're trying new stuff. So we'll see what this board looks like closer to lock. But if they give us like, if they're gonna do stuff like this, what's to stop them from doing like 3 hitters on 3 different teams in a home run triangle? You know what I mean? Huh. I don't know. Interesting. All right, questions, chat. Anything you guys got at me? Strategy questions, slate questions. I know for baseball, the content can feel a little bit non-committal because we're really just accepting ranges of outcomes. And I'm a guy that plays both sides of a lot because of the MME aspect. But I would take some stands if you gave me like a blanket of A in a single entry or an A 10 lineup, stuff like that. So if you guys got anything, now's the time. If not, throw them in the comments. If you're watching on demand, leave a comment, any questions you got. I'll try to circle back, and then we'll try and come up with a more solidified schedule. And also, I want to know, would you guys prefer the night before breakdowns for baseball or the day of? Last year we did a lot of day of, and I'm fine with either. I'm curious what fits your all schedule a little bit better. I would imagine the night before is gonna like not do a lot of live numbers, but I don't really care. It's baseball. No one's watching baseball anyway. Jeff says, how many players do you normally stack for one team? So on DraftKings 5, on Fanduel 4, right? And that's an incredible question because My buddy at Fantasy Cruncher, James, came up with this great article. And if you're on Twitter, they tweeted it. I'm gonna go look for it. I know I retweeted it. But if you're on DraftKings, oh, by the way, look at me. Don't I look like a sexy Bam Bam Bigelow without a tattoo? Yeah. They tweeted an article grabbing information that they use using Lineup Rewind. And I promise I retweeted it. It's in here somewhere. Here it is right here. So I'll put a link to this in chat. If you guys get time, I would absolutely recommend you read this if you plan on managing a portfolio of lineups for MLB. There's the link. You might have to copy and paste that. But real quick, and I won't give it up, but this right here. On DraftKings, lineups consisting of a 5-man stack win 92 total times for 56.7% of the time. So you don't have to overcomplicate it if you're managing a portfolio of lineups. 5-man stacks work. You may feel lazy, but they work. 4-man's won 26% of the time. 3-man or less, 6%. 2-man's just 9%. So stacking is king. So on DraftKings, how many people do we stack? Well, I'm stacking 5. And going from there. But check that article out. It's really good information. A lot on the board now on PrizePicks. That's why I asked you. Looking over the board, not sure what you meant by the home run triangle. So A1 last year, they would put, for instance, the Braves. They would take 3 Braves hitters, like Acuna, Olsen, Riley, and have a 0.5 home run number, and you would take the over/under. So that's what I call the triangle. Sometimes there would be 4 hitters against a really tough matchup. Top stacks value pitcher. So I don't really have a pulse on ownership right now. I'm assuming that the Braves are going to be the highest owned stack. Maybe the Twins behind them. So taking, if that holds true, if those are the 2 highest owned guys or stacks. I like the thought of the Orioles. I like the thought of the Cardinals. And then for a value pitcher, is that a DraftKings question? I'll say this. I'm way more likely on any slate to pay up for pitching. I don't like to get too cute at pitching. I get cute at hitting. You know what I'm saying? So I don't like to punt pitchers. If that's the spirit of the question. But as far as points per dollar, I think on DraftKings there's a couple guys under 8K that could fill a role. Manoah, if you can get past his velo and matchup stuff. Blake Snell has an upside at 8K, surely 25 plus. Shane McClanahan is one of the best pitchers in the league at under 8K. If we can get clearance on his pitch count, sure. Logan Webb. Yankees can strike out, so he's not a guy that gives up much power. So if he can get through 5-6 innings, steal a win, I don't think that's crazy. Pablo Lopez, this lane right here, I think they're all very viable. Snell, McClanahan, Webb, Pablo Lopez. Obviously I don't have warm and fuzzies on any of these guys from a tier 2 or higher. If you want to get real crazy in tournaments, I don't want to say crazy, but if you want to assume a little bit more risk, Hunter Green is one of those guys that can give you a -10 or 25, but I don't think there's anyone below Hunter Green that I would play. Definitely no one below Hunter Green that I would play today, me personally. Homers usually means run points to other bats too. Yeah. So I'll check in the morning, see if we have more PrizePicks stuff. But is that it? You guys got anything else for me? If not, man, I'm excited for opening day. And the grind's going to be real. The grind's going to be real no matter your results on day 1, day 2, day 3. Understand. It's a long season. As the season progresses, we'll start to see more runs. We are adjusting to new rules, bigger bases, pitch clocks. I think there's a pickoff attempt max too. I think you can only throw 2 pickoffs. So you're going to see more stolen bases. So maybe we'll get more, and for DFS, maybe that will start rewarding some of these hit for average stacks a little bit more. You know, those pesky teams where the stolen bases. Because I saw, was it Cardi? Somebody projected that stolen bases can rise 20 to 25% this season because of the new rules. And remember, no shift this season as well. So lots to watch, lots to be excited about. I'm excited. Can you turn mic up just a little bit? It's a little late now, but I'm sorry if the music was too loud this stream. If that ever happens, let me know and I'll fix it. I promise. But that's it. All right, guys. I appreciate you guys making part of my night. Be part of your night. I'm going to go hang out on Twitch a little bit, play a little baseball. If you want to hang out with me a little bit more, talk a little bit more baseball, I'll be over there in like 10-15 minutes. Otherwise, I'll see you guys in the daytime. I love you guys. Good luck. God bless. And go win some money.